In a world where you can become social media famous for the dumbest of reasons, like talking about how you spit on or eating a Tide Pod, it's really hard to be the king of social media stupidity. That is, of course, until you find out about this guy.
For all you scared about raw chicken, oh, what if you get salmonella? You're gonna get sick. Every ounce of salmonella I have fuels my body.
Yes, I am the youngest billionaire in the world right now. Make sure everyone knows.
Water is a scam, all right? I'm the first to say this, by the way. I haven't drank water in like 6 months.
I wake up, I make as much money as I possibly can that day, and that money can then multiply because I understand how to multiply money. So I'm just like a sniper with it. I just take 1 or 2 trades a month, huge money, boom, done, out. And I don't even worry about it because I haven't lost a trade since March of last year.
This is Gavin Mayo, a self-proclaimed multi-millionaire who rose to internet infamy in 2023, specifically on the hilarious corner of the internet known as crypto Twitter. It's like normal Twitter, except everybody posts about cryptocurrency and has a crippling degenerate gambling addiction involving buying shitcoins. Gavin popped up in this swamp like an unwanted turd in a public pool, right out the gate posting ridiculous and often easily disproven nonsense about his own net worth. You will want examples, of course, so here you go. I spent $7,000 on a lighter today. We are not the same. Now, there are a few issues with this post. The first one being, spending $7,000 on a lighter is not a flex, and it just makes you look like you eat crayons. 2, the lighter doesn't cost $7,000, it's $700 brand new, which leaves us with 3 options for what Gavin was doing with posts like this. Because there are, of course, other examples of him doing this. Either 1, he's too stupid to Google search a lighter before buying it and got himself scammed, which you will see the irony of later in this video. 2, he's too stupid to think that other people can use Google and figure out the lighter isn't worth $7,000, which then turned him into the laughingstock that he is. Or 3, he was purposefully posting things that made him look stupid so he could get internet famous. I have my theory on which one this was, and you probably will too. I believe he was trying to cash in on what I like to call the Tate bubble of 2023. During that year, Andrew Tate was the #1 most searched person on the planet. His name was everywhere on the internet. You could go anywhere on social media and you would see content being bombarded at you on social media with how wealthy he was, how many women he sleeps with, you know, how poor everybody else is, showing expensive cars, jewelry, expensive, lavish lifestyles. That year and the following year of 2024 had a profound impact on the social media landscape, specifically for grifters, idiots, and especially young, easily influenced men. Gavin Mayo's early persona online was very Tate-inspired. The music choice in the clips, the outlandish claims, the constant focus on wealth. Not only that, but he was also trying to sell his own, Hustlers University type school, course, whatever we're going to call it, to try and get other people money, which you're going to find very funny as we get further into this video. But Gavin was using this method, the Tate method, to go viral. And it worked like a charm, because how could you not become internet famous for doing things like this?
Raw chicken, it has salmonella. It could get you sick. Listen, salmonella's already found in your gut. Raw chicken's good for you. Don't let the Matrix trick you.
And of course, let's not forget flexing his wealthy lifestyle every opportunity he could.
So Twitter saw the tiger. It wasn't enough. I also decided to buy a lion here. This little guy's getting pretty big. What should I get next?
Well, all of this is fine, right? I mean, it's 2023 and at this point it's normalized. People being stupid on social media and getting famous, using that fame to then turn around and rake in ad revenue, build a business, sell a course, whatever it's going to be. Countless other methods to use their 15 minutes of fame and cash in on it. So that's my theory. Gavin was purposefully going viral by doing insane, outlandish or stupid things, making himself a laughingstock on purpose to get famous, and it worked, sort of, because he was featured in videos. I think I even made a video at the time reacting to how stupid he is, and Moist Critical talked about him, some ordinary gamers talked about him, I think even CoffeeZilla talked about him. He was all over social media for all the wrong reasons, but it was the reasons he created. So why did I say it sort of worked out? Because that's what he wanted, right? Well, it's because he got all the eyeballs, but he got none of the following. Even to this day, in 2025, he's sitting at just over 11,500 Twitter followers. His YouTube channel has 16 subscribers, and he struggled to break a few hundred views per video despite millions of views on TikTok using his name. So he couldn't even capitalize on all of the eyeballs and turn them into a following in the first place. Which is all pretty boring stuff so far. I mean, what do we really have? A young guy who wanted to be Andrew Tate, pretended to be richer than he is, tried to get social media famous, and instead becomes the idiot people laugh at in the millions, but without any of the hopeful success that would follow as a trade-off. But the real story about Gavin Mayo is much more interesting, because he wasn't just some poser kid with an ego problem. He wasn't poor and pretending to be rich, faking it till he makes it, and borrowing or loaning things. He actually had money, but not from what he said he had money from. He wasn't trading stocks, he wasn't a cryptocurrency genius like he claimed in his videos or courses he was selling. He was actually a scammer who was responsible for tens of millions of dollars of fraud. The details of his alleged crimes, according to a multi-year investigation by the US federal government, Gavin Mayo and his partner would create NFT projects using aliases, hype them up, create roadmaps to indicate they were going to provide further value to the project long term, sell the NFTs for combined millions of dollars, and then just take all the money and vanish. They did this from 2021 all the way up till 2024. Not just once or twice, you know, a little fraud here, a little fraud there. They did this half a dozen or more times. They just kept coming back, drinking deep from the stupidity pool that is cryptocurrency. You'll have to suspend your common sense here for a second and listen to some of the names of the very legitimate products that these people created as anonymous individuals with no history, no track record, or immediate accountability. These are the products people invested money into. Squiggles, Roost Coin, Moon Portal, Uncovered, Dirty Dogs, Clout Coin, Sinful Souls, Faceless, and Vault of Gems, which is the least stupid sounding one of them. So there's no real genius moves here being made by the pair. It wasn't a super well-run operation that required high-level thinking or crazy operational security and super hackers and all that good stuff. It was just two kids who made projects knowing the crypto community would throw money at whatever they thought could turn them a profit, which often includes the dumbest things on the planet, such as the 2024 bull run of racist, homophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, or whatever other thing that would be bad cryptocurrency coins being created, and then people making millions of dollars doing it. The only detail here that makes their crimes even worse is that they eventually used patsy type figures to take the dive for their scams. Because obviously as time passed, people wanted a real person there, and they weren't going to be the real people, so they'd instead hire somebody to be the manager or the face of the product, and then they'd still just run away with all the money, with that person being left holding the bag, except without the bag because they had none of the money, and instead all the responsibility and death threats and crazy things that come from a community that believe you are the person responsible for stealing all of their money. Essentially, they just had a rabid pack of angry investors coming after them. And I'm using air quotes because they're not investing in any sense of the word. It's just degenerate gambling. According to the Department of Justice, when one of these managers exposed Gavin and his partner of being behind the operation, they went on to threaten and harass him, which is just another crime added onto their growing list of reasons they're going to spend the next few years in a federal prison, missing out on that lavish lifestyle that Gavin liked to flex on social media, while calling everybody else poor. But the funniest thing about all of this, or at least one of the funniest things, is that all of this was public information for at least 2 years of Gavin's role play as a skinny, uncharismatic, and uninteresting version of Andrew Tate. Everyone on crypto Twitter knew Gavin was a scammer. They knew it. It was provable on chain. They knew he defrauded people for tens of millions of dollars. They just were sat watching this guy incriminate himself, draw attention to himself, hundreds of millions of eyeballs drawn to a lifestyle, knowing he was a criminal. Take, for instance, this post from ZachXBT, who is cryptocurrency's very own Batman, the cyber sleuth who tracks down and exposes crypto scammers for exactly what they are. Basically, this is a sealed document sent to Meta disclosing their investigation into Gavin Mayo for these crimes that Zach posted as evidence of Gavin being a scammer all the way back in April of 2023, which I remind you is multiple years after Gavin had already started scamming. And it goes even further back than that. An account called Y3K Pirates posted about Gavin's involvement in all of these frauds back in early of 2022. So let me recap this whole story for you. Gavin Mayo made all of his money defrauding people for 3 years, literally committing wire fraud on computers, likely money laundering as well, because obviously he had to hide the money and probably wasn't paying taxes on the tens of millions of dollars he was stealing. Federal crimes that see people go to prison for multiple years of their life. Despite being rich from these crimes, he decided that wasn't enough. You know, not only am I stupid, I'm also greedy. So instead of just retiring and maybe fleeing the country or something with these tens of millions of dollars of ill-gotten gains for the crimes he knew he committed, which he knew were crimes, he instead decided he was going to become internet famous, showing all of the stolen wealth that he stole from the people he was advertising his services to, antagonizing people by calling them poor, and painting a massive bullseye on his back at the same time. He did all of that knowing that the whole cryptocurrency world knew he was a criminal and had easily accessible and objectively provable evidence that this was the case. He did all of this knowing subpoenas had been sent from the Justice Department to social media platforms in association with investigations into his life. And for years, all of this seemed like it would just be another cryptocurrency cowboy story, that he'd get away with it all, that the scammers wouldn't be punished, and that we live in a bizarro land, because that's often what happens. But in December of 2024, justice was finally served. Just 5 days before Christmas, while we were all celebrating, spending time with our loved ones, doing things normal people do, Gavin Mayo woke up to the sound of banging at his door. He probably had a late night being rich, spoiled, and a criminal, so he was a little groggy, you know, he put on his Gucci flip-flops, he walked downstairs, the multi-million-dollar mansion that he was in, and what do you know? It wasn't Father Christmas, it was agents of Homeland Security's investigation squad that had been investigating him for years. They had a present for him, and it was a 6-count indictment, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and stalking, for which him and his partner face a grand total of 20 years in prison. So that's a pretty satisfying end to that story, because if the feds investigate you for 3 years, the chances that you beat them in court is statistically less than 2%. So the question isn't whether or not they did it, it's just how long they're going to spend in prison for doing it. So that's the story of Gavin Mayo, one of the dumbest people on the planet, who tried to pretend he was super smart, he was a crypto genius, stock investor, forex trading savant, who you should totally pay to learn his knowledge about all these things, because they made him rich, clearly. But obviously he didn't do any of that. He just stole from the same type of person that would buy a 20-year-old's money-making course on the internet. But there we go. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.